So I'm actually not recording. I'm live streaming it to YouTube, but since no one knows, no one is watching. I just use this so that I don't have to upload a video file and so on after that. So I'm actually not recording. I'm live streaming it. Very well. So now we recorded.
So I, just as a little background, I started practicing meditation when I was a teenager, just because I was going through a lot of pain and suffering. I had no idea kind of what was going on in my life. And I found it to be very helpful. There was times when I was a teenager when I couldn't sleep at night and just had enormous grief and anxiety and pain, and was trying to run from that anxiety and pain. And then my dad somehow left this book and a cassette tape, outside my door when I was a kid. And there was various cassette tapes. There was like one from Ram Dass and then one from Jack Kornfield and different like people and teachers. And so I got introduced to a lot of that kind of world at a young age, and then ended up for about 6 or 7 years, I taught meditation to incarcerated kids, mainly in New York City. So I'd go into juvenile halls and youth prisons and kind of bring in meditation practice into their lives and world, which was really intense because they were going through incredible suffering and challenges. And I wanted to kind of bring back what was useful to me as a teenager, to other teenagers. So that's been a big part of my life, and then kind of expanded from that to the tech world and working with people in the tech community and working with all different types of people in different worlds. And one of the things I love about meditation practice is as soon as we start, it equalizes everybody. It doesn't matter if you owe $1 billion or you have $1 billion or you had enormous success or you've had enormous failure. Like, you're just there with your own mind, and we're all humans, and we have a body and we have a mind, we have a heart. And so the beautiful thing about meditation is it kind of takes away and strips all of the identities that we tend to hold about who we think we are. And we get to actually just stop and experience what's actually true for us. And that if we can't sit quietly by ourselves for a moment and be peaceful, who can we blame for that inability? I can't be peaceful because of this person, or I can't be peaceful because of what my parents did or what this person, like all the stories that we have, we realize like, oh no, I'm actually responsible. Like, if I can't sit here by myself, somewhat peaceful and somewhat at ease, that's internal. There's no external force that's kind of causing my suffering. Most of a good portion of our suffering is from the inner domain. It's not because the stock market isn't doing what we want it to do, or crypto isn't doing what we want it to do, or our partner isn't doing somebody's not doing what we think they should be doing. And we think, oh, that's the source of our suffering. If we can just get crypto to go up, or get our partner to do this, or get the market to do this, or get our company, whatever, something external. And so one of the things I was always drawn and appreciate about meditation is that it guides us back to the internal dimension of life, the inner dimension of life, and which is really where the whole real game is played. Because I mean, we've all probably met people of enormous success in the outer domain and all kinds of accolades, and they're incredibly lonely and insecure and unhappy people, even though the world around them has told them they should be happy and the world around them has given them everything. Internally, if we're not at home and at peace, life isn't really that enjoyable. We can't taste our food, we can't smell the flower, we can't like see the world around us because we're lost in these stories of like, they did this and I should have done that, and they did, how could this, and so how do we kind of step out of those stories so we experience life like freshly and new, and meet it actually in the moment right now, which is the only moment we can ever live, which is here. It doesn't matter if we were really present yesterday or we plan to be present tomorrow. Like, are we present right now? Like, keep coming back to that. And so that to me has always been what I've drawn to meditation, as hard as it is and as challenging as it can be sometimes, is it's a way of kind of confronting ourselves and confronting the truth. And that when we die, whether that's later today or 20 years from now or 50 years from now, like everything gets shed, right? Like our clothes, our body, our successes, our failures. And so we get to kind of discover who we are potentially. And so how do we kind of join in that discovery on the sooner side rather than the later side, and hopefully live with a little more ease and freedom, because we're not as caught in the different stories about ourselves or about how things should be. So that's just a little intro. I'm happy to share more, explore more, and learn from you all. One of the things I love about meditation practice is there's no like right way or wrong way. I'm happy to share what I know, and I'll kind of guide us in a short meditation, and then we can learn together how this inner domain and inner journey works for all of us. So I'm going to invite you to sit in a way that expresses both ease and alertness. So if you were just if your body was to express both ease and alertness, how would you, and just see what happens. Often you might notice your body wanting to sit up straight, your back might be a little more upright. So I'm going to invite you to sit in a way that expresses both ease and alertness. You can sit with your legs crossed, you can sit on a chair, on a cushion, whatever you're comfortable with. But again, asking your body, how would I sit if I was to sit with both ease, relaxation, and also alertness? And just let your body come into any position that expresses that. And see if you can put your hands either on your knees or in your lap. And as an experiment, just see if you can keep your hands still for this 5 minutes. So wherever you decide to put your hands, whether they're on your knees or in your lap, see if it might be possible to keep your hands and your body as still as possible for the next 5 minutes. And next, if you're comfortable, I'm going to invite you to gently let your eyes close so that we can kind of limit external stimuli as we do this. Or you can lower your gaze if you're more comfortable doing that. But if you can just gently let your eyes close, that's usually recommended. And as you do, take a couple of deep breaths and see if you can feel what it's like to be here right now. Noticing the flow or rhythm of your breath in your body. How one breath naturally follows the next, like waves in an ocean. We don't need to try to breathe or try to fix the breath. See if you can notice how the breath naturally arises and falls on its own. Feeling the pressure of your feet on the floor, if you're sitting, or the pressure of your buttocks on the chair or cushion where you sit. Or maybe even noticing your hands, if they're rested on your lap or your knees. Becoming aware of your body and your breath in this moment. Seeing if you can invite yourself to be as fully present for this moment as possible. You're not trying to fix anything or make something special happen or solve any problems. Can you just be with this moment just as it is? Noticing whatever thoughts, feelings, emotions that might arise. Making space for anything that needs to arise to appear. Not resisting, but also not clinging or holding on to experience. Seeing if you can inquire or investigate who you really are, which is not your name, not your successes or failures, your bank account, or whatever story you have about yourself. Seeing if you can tap into this deeper place of spaciousness, of awareness. And if you're not sure where your attention is in a given moment, see if you can very gently and very kindly allow the breath, allow the body to become your home base, place you come back to. Noticing this in-breath as it rises, next out-breath. Simply being. Right here, right now. As if this was the most important moment of your life. When you're ready, you can gently open your eyes and see if you can explore that the meditation doesn't end. Now your eyes are open. So awareness doesn't go anywhere. Awareness is present if we close our eyes. Awareness is present if we open our eyes. And so just play with the next time, for whatever time you're on the Zoom today, just kind of play with, can you be aware of your body, your breath, and also aware of whatever communication in the external world? And can you kind of go back and forth between the internal world and the external world? So you're not like totally lost in everything, but you're also engaged and present. Kind of, can we have these dialogues where we're not like trying to force ourselves to be anything different, but we're also just playing with this experience of, can we be present in the different facets or the different dances of life, whether that's walking, lovemaking, eating, talking, whatever the form of life is. Can we be in touch with formlessness, or can we be in touch with awareness as it all unfolds? Because the real practice, of course, is life. It's not, meditation is wonderful, but the real practice is every moment of every life. And so just as an invitation, I always like to explore when the meditation ends, supposedly just to play with, like, oh, it's just a different moment. And how do we kind of extend the meditation so that we continue to kind of like visit that awareness no matter what we're doing. So thanks. I have no idea. I didn't time that, but I hope that was helpful. I think it's probably somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes.
No, this is great, Soren. Thank you so much. Magdalena is on the question. She's here. I'll ask the first question, and then if you guys have questions, focusing on. Oh, very good. All right. I will still ask the first question. Soren, so you've been meditating for a long time, as you said, and many here probably as well. What would be the changes that you see in you, or what would be what you tell someone that starts and doesn't see enough value and stops, which is very often the case, right? Sadly, people do it 10 days or even a retreat and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I do think there's natural flows to life. Like if somebody decides to stop, I generally think that there's something that they need, to stop. And that I find that there's cycles and things, and so I don't necessarily look at that as a negative turn or as a bad turn. That if their life is starting to fall apart, it's probably a negative thing. But I do think sometimes people go through phases and they have a different practice they want to do versus meditation. Maybe something else is drawing them. So I don't necessarily think that it's the best thing to always do. And some people, like teachers I have, like Eckhart Tolle, I don't think he meditates anymore just because he's just there all the time. He's kind of lives in that space from the best I can tell. But I do think that the more that we practice, we kind of remember what really, really, really matters. There's this quote that I heard from John Kabat-Zinn from Suzuki Roshi, who said the most important thing is remembering what's the most important thing. And I think in life, it's easy to forget what's really the most important thing. We get caught in all these stories of however we're supposed to be or how the world is supposed to be. And so I think one of the beautiful things about meditation is it just brings us back to that, like happiness and joy and all those things, they're inside our own life. They're inside our own body and mind and heart. And I think that the more we cultivate that, just the happier, better people we are. And the less reactive we are, the less we take things personally. If someone gets upset at us, how could you do that to me? I've done, like this whole thing that we can get into around reactivity and blaming and like, I'm the victim or I'm the hero or whatever we think we do. And I think the more that we realize like, oh, I'm the creator of a lot of my pain and suffering, and I can have a choice. I can actually choose to respond to that person who's upset with me in different ways. And there's a way that I can respond that's actually doesn't produce more suffering. And I think, my guess is everybody's on this call today because their life didn't go exactly how they planned. Like failure is an important thing. Suffering, like usually that wakes us up. And so hopefully we get that message and we can find ways to suffer less. But I think, like most people start meditation or some spiritual journey, not because everything's just so great in their life. Usually it's something didn't go so well. And we realize, wow, there's something I need to look at. And that's continuous for me. I don't feel like I've gotten to the plateau by any means. I'm continuing to learn, like, oh shit, I thought I saw that and I so missed that. I was like a blind spot in my life, like, oh shit. Like, and so we have an opportunity, right? When we see those blind spots to either ignore it or just be like, oh, okay. Clearly, I'm not as aware as I thought I was. And can we have the humility and the grace to realize, like, yeah, we're all just learning as best we can on the journey.
Thank you, Soren. Jochen and then Flora. Flora, just go after Soren has answered Jochen's question.
And I don't know if I'm answering questions, but I'll respond with my experience. How about that?
That sounds perfect to me. So the short version of my question is, in your opinion, what is meditation? And the reason why I'm asking the question is that in the beginning, I thought meditation, I was like, oh, focus on your breath. And then I sat with Zen monks and they say something slightly different. And then I sit with, Sharon Salzberg, and she says yet something different, than with Taoists and then with the Qigong masters. And so in your opinion, what actually, so there's the form of it, right? The thing, the instructions here, do that thing, what you just did with us, one of many variations, but what actually is it?
So it's funny, there's a story that Jack Kornfield tells, and it was a story about these students there's 3 students, I guess, that go up to this teacher. And the one student says, well, teacher, don't you have to like put forth incredible effort and like practice as if your like hair was on fire and like strive in order to find true realization? Don't you have to like 100% commit to it? And the teacher says, yes, that's true. And another student says, hold it. I thought it was just about relaxating and allowing life to come through you, and just we're already enlightened, and it's just about allowing that and just about kind of being with things as they are. It's not about striving. It's just about kind of like sinking into awareness. Isn't that what it's about? And the teacher's like, yes, you're right. And the third student is over there. It's like, hold it. You can't, they both can't be right. And the teacher said, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right too. So I think some of it is we just have to find the right, there's no right, wrong. I remember talking to Sharon Salzberg about this, and she's like, yeah, I've done the practice, like, I don't know, 40 or 50 years. And the instructions stayed the same the entire time, which is just, are we present in this moment? And it doesn't matter. There's this story, which I always like too, which is in Buddhism, there's a Hinayana, which is, well, there's a greater vehicle, lesser vehicle. I don't know if you know this, heard those terms. So Mahayana calls themselves the greater vehicle, and Hinayana is called the lesser vehicle sometimes in the Buddhist world. And there's a phrase that says, greater vehicle, lesser vehicle, no difference. In the end, all vehicles will be towed away at the owner's expense. Which is we're never like, even if we master a form, like the form eventually goes, like all the forms go. So for me, it's just whatever helps us be more present, and if Zen teachings help you be more present, that's the way to go. If something else helps us be more present, that's the way to go. I do think we have to be careful that whenever we get to a certain difficulty with something, we change. We're like, oh, I'm this is kind of difficult now. I'm going to go to do something different. So I do think we need to watch that tendency to just always avoid anything hard by switching different things. But I think for me, the practice is just being, I follow a lot of Eckhart Tolle. I love Eckhart Tolle a lot. And he speaks to me a lot. And his emphasis around consciousness and around accessing consciousness just speaks to me a lot. And I think for me, the practice isn't like creating something, it's actually discovering something. So sometimes people use the word mindfulness and cultivating mindfulness, which I think is great and it's kind of needed. And Eckhart talks a little bit more about kind of discovering, like discovering something, like can we discover who we really are? And that just speaks to me, but at different times, different things speak to me. But I think whatever our gauge has to be, is it helping me cultivate and bring forth more presence in my life? Am I a kinder person? Am I a more conscious person? Am I a more humble person? Or am I, are the qualities that most matter to me getting cultivated through this practice? And I've met some amazing people, and they all do different things sometimes, some of them sing, some of them dance, some of them meditate. I do think that some time in silence is just really powerful. It's hard to grow. In my experience, some time in silence with oneself is pretty essential. I don't know if that answers the question, but this is some reflections on my experience.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, and I thought there were some secret special teachings, and maybe there are, but nobody's told me them yet. There are, I haven't. I've asked. I was like, I know that's the normal thing about being present in the moment, but like, what else? What's the real? I was actually interested. At TED, I went to TED for the first time, Loic, and I met this guy, Mingyur Rinpoche. Mingyur Rinpoche, he wrote this book on joy, and he's this famous Tibetan Lama who at one point decided to give up all of his robes, and he travels for 3 or 4 years with no money and nothing through India as like a beggar, and meditates in the Himalayas and does all this stuff. And so I met him this last year at TED, and I was like, Rinpoche, it's so good to see you. And I was like, so what's your meditation practice now? And he says, I practice non-meditation meditation. I said, so what's that? And he's been doing this shit for a long time. I was like, what's that? He says, I just sit in awareness. And sometimes I sit for 5 minutes, sometimes I sit for 2 hours, but that's his practice now. So I don't know what that means. But he's a Tibetan master who's done all the forms, and now he does non-meditation meditation. So I think at different stages we need different things.
Flora?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Soren, for this little short meditation. I really liked what you said about, can you be as present as if that was the most important moment of your life? I think I'll keep that. Thank you. My question for you is about worshiping. I have my background is like Tibetan Buddhism for many years, and now I'm like a Zen practitioner, and I also study the Vedas and Sanskrit. But I kind of miss, since I'm in Zen, I really like the form, like the simplicity and the minimalistic approach and the learning of to be so present. But I have that thing in me that is craving for worshiping or for serving God or whatever it is. And I'm just curious because I know God is in everything and it's about just seeing and being. But I'm curious if you have some worshiping rituals or some practice that kind of serve that purpose, or if you had that need in the past.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a lot to add to that. I don't have that experience as much. There was a teacher early on that I had, and I had his picture. I would carry his picture with me, and I would have it on a little altar I had when I was younger. And it really, really helped to see his picture every day. He really spoke to me, and I carried his picture around, and for 7 or 8 years, he was looking at him inspired me and reminded me. And then I stopped. I know that Ram Dass, with his guru, talked about the power of that devotional realm with Maharaji named Curly Baba. And I think it's powerful, but it's not something that necessarily has naturally emerged in my life. So, but I understand its power, and I know people for whom that's a big part of their practice, it feels like, is that devotion. And of course, like you said, the devotions to ourselves through this other form, or to life, to the universe. I was at a talk 3 weeks ago, I went to hear a talk by Eckhart Tolle, and I hadn't seen him in a long time. And at one point he said the universe is conscious. It's a conscious universe. And he says, how do I know that? Because I'm conscious and I'm the universe, and you're conscious and you're the universe. And we are essentially like the Big Bang. It's kind of gets a little bizarre, but the Big Bang didn't just happen whatever gazillion years ago. We are the Big Bang. We are the remnants of the Big Bang. gases, the molecules, the things that emerge from that, we are. So we're not only connected to this, we are the universe. Like we're made up of universal elements. We are the fabric of the universe continuing to unfold. And that's still, I just find that cool.
Thanks, Soren.
Yeah.
Thank you, Flora. Who do we go to? Michael?
Yeah, thank you, Louis. I have two questions. One very easy. Are you still in New York? You said you were in New York City. Are you still in New York?
I used to live in New York City. We're going back to New York City for an event in a few weeks, but I live in Northern California now in Marin, which is just north of San Francisco.
Okay. And the other one is that about 10 years ago, through business, I got very involved with the Indian spiritual mystic Osho, which many of you have probably heard about. And they are using our platform to translate Osho's teaching into over 90 languages. So I'm just curious if anybody has any experience with or thoughts about Osho. And he has a very large meditation resort outside of Pune in India that's been closed for almost about 3 years. Just curious.
And yeah, and his name, when he was living, his name was Bhagwan Sri
Bhagwan Rajneesh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love his writings. I have no personal experience with him as an individual.
Oh, no, he passed away in 1990.
Yeah,
So-
but Osho is the name, it's the same person from what I understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Magdalena actually would like to say something about Osho.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. But I was going to ask that question to Soren, just connected to what you're saying, Michael, of Osho. And you were speaking at all the different ways of meditating or being in meditation. And for me, my experience has been that I initially started meditating in that way that was very static, closed my eyes, and in stillness, in silence, and in lack of movement. And as I progressed through the awakening of my feminine and reconnected with more that essence of life, of the experience of the feminine, I started finding movement much easier to relate to, and actually maybe more resonant with my feminine nature. And I did a lot of Osho meditation, as well as things like 5 rhythms that where I find, I don't know if you have any insights in terms of gender, or maybe it's not gender, maybe it is about just connecting with those 2 different energies that we each have in us. The more masculine, which is obviously sitting in silence in the top of the mountain and connecting with this, and then the feminine, which is more in movement and connecting with this, more with the earth herself. Just wondering, if you have any.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends. I was at Esalen when Gabrielle Roth used to go there, and she was kind of creating the 5 rhythms kind of movement at the time. It was super exciting to kind of see that whole world kind of come. And people would do, I think Osho had I think it's called the dynamic meditation, where I believe you yell or you make sounds for 5 minutes, you dance for 5 minutes, and you sit for 5 minutes. Is that, do you remember what the dynamic meditation is?
Like, the first one is the shouting "oh" and jumping up and down on a vertical axis. Second one is dancing freely. Third one is expression, and the third one is silence.
Yeah. So I think they're all great forms. Yeah, I think I know friends who do Qigong too, and who like have enormous growth through Qigong. So I think all of it's beautiful. The only thing I think that's kind of interesting to explore is, are we feeling better, and or are we getting insights into ourselves? Because I think there's certain things that definitely feel really good, and yet in order to kind of shift behavior, sometimes we need like some reflection or insight into ourselves. And I don't have the sense that, I think all these are just doorways into the same room. And
Osho says, sorry, go ahead. So finish, Soren. Sorry, I interrupted you.
well, we know they're just doorways, and whatever doorway makes sense for us. But I do think that there's something about something that allows us to see ourselves in a different light that's really important.
Yeah, but if I think about Osho, I've heard that audiobook, which is really a seminar that he was doing, The Secret of the Secrets, which is a cool title. And in it, he repeats many times, which is why I ended up doing it, that he says, meditate for 90 days. And then he says an hour to 2 hours a day. He doesn't say 5 minutes. And then you will see the power of it. And I did that in the rest. I did about 70 days or something like this. But I think there is something.
An interesting character, though, Louis, too. Osho's if you look, I knew his head bodyguard for a while, who was also at Esalen. I don't know what to make of him. He definitely had brilliant wisdom, and if you saw the documentary Wild Wild West, he's a character. I don't know what to make of Osho.
I wish he would be alive, honestly, because the more Magdalena introduced me to him, I saw Wild Wild West, and I was like, never am I learning or watching from a guru that does this kind of things. And honestly, now every week I listen to some Osho because behind the image and what he says, if you guys listen to The Secret of the Secrets, then let me know. I listened to 70 hours of him. It's a 70-hour audiobook. And I find everything he says is actually very, very smart. And like, for example, he says politicians lie all the time. And then he goes on politics and it's the worst profession you can have in the world. But it's kind of true. They lie all the time. So
there was this teacher, Trungpa Rinpoche, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. I don't know if people heard of him. He wrote Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism and incredibly profound books, amazing books. And he died of alcoholism at like 47 or something. Drank.
But also walk the talk, right?
I can give.
Well, supposedly though, but he would go out drunk. He would give the greatest Dharma talk like that you'd ever heard. And he was this I mean, some teachers, I think they're everything.
Yes, Michael, you wanted to say something.
I just wanted, let me just add a comment. It sounds like a lot of you have had some experience with Osho. Just to give you a perspective, from 1961 to the time that he went to a different life. He doesn't like to say he passed away in 1990. Every night after meditation for 29 years, he gave a talk. And he had the brilliance to hire a cameraman to videotape his talk. And every 3 years, he had that tape upgraded to new formats.
Michael, if I may, let's go back to meditation, if you don't mind. We can do a special Osho. I have a lot of things to say about Osho as well.
Right.
But we have Soren and a topic here, which is meditation. Olivier, you wanted to say something? Thank you, Michael. Don't take this wrong. I'm just trying to stay on topic.
Right.
Hi, thank you. I am the one who expresses as Olivier. I have a question about sitting in meditation. I often observe my body and thoughts and let them go. And at some point, the observer goes away. Now, my question is more like, and sometimes in that state, when I come back from it, I get insights or I see things as if I had some psychedelic medicine or whatever. My question is that a state of non-duality? And what is your experience of that? And second, am I just dreaming? Or it doesn't really matter. It feels great either way.
When are you not dreaming? What is not dreaming?
Exactly, it's a dream right now anyway.
But I guess there's unconscious dreaming and then there's conscious dreaming. I don't know how to. I mean, I can just share from my experience. I don't know your experience. It sounds like it's a positive, clear. Like it sounds from what I'm hearing. It sounds like there's more clarity and insight that's emerging through that. So that's how it appears. It appears like there's like clear seeing and insight, which to me is always kind of one gauge of whether something is helpful or not. Does it allow me to see more clearly? Does it allow me to kind of have insight? My experience, and again, Luik and Magdalena, you guys can also speak to this. There's kind of this everyday reality that we live in, which is usually subject object, right? Like I'm a me and you're you, and that's a tree and I'm not the tree, and I'm a human, I'm a dad, and all these like things that we play and we roll, and and kind of live our lives with this kind of separation. And it has its function. It's a functional awareness. It's a functional reality. But then there's this more ultimate reality, which is non-dual, which isn't like the tree and me are not these separate human beings. We're not, my name isn't Soren. And like, that's just bizarre to think about having a name, right? Like there's this other dimension that we can tap into that is also incredibly, incredibly profound and allows us a sense of reality in a different way. And my work as best I can is just to dance between those realms, to not get caught too much in one, which is just like we're all one and it doesn't really matter. And also not get caught in this separative kind of thinking of like that we're different. And I think the more that we can have a non-dual experience and then know how to integrate that into the realm, Thich Nhat Hanh had great language around this, and I can't quite remember his language right now. But he had kind of great languaging around, it's great to be in touch with the ultimate dimension. And it's also really great to see the suffering that's happening right now in our daily lives and actually address it and to help that person, to feed that person and to do generous acts, because we're human bodies and human beings, and there's things that we can do to relieve suffering. So I don't know if that helps at all, but I think it's great that you're having those experiences. And I think the dance, at least the dance that I try to do, is just to blend in both of those realities, because I think they both exist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Where are you? You sent this email, Soren, a few days ago. It was a Wisdom 2. By the way, we didn't say it, but Soren, for those of you who don't know, organized an awesome conference called Wisdom 2. 2.0. 2.0. 2.0. Right. And you sent this email which said it was talking about being always seeking. You remember what you wrote or what you sent a few days ago?
Oh, from there to here?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'm kind of obsessed with that right now. Like what are we seeking more, right? Are we here now? What are you seeking? Are you seeking something?
I do. I find myself seeking things all the time. The subject was from there to here. So we're always trying to get from here to there. How do I get from here? And this is my life now. But if I can just get there, that's where life, if I can just get to Spain, where it's warm by the ocean, or if I can just get to Silicon Valley or whatever the story we have of life is, like, I'm not, whatever, dude, this moment is not it. There's some other moment that will be it. And look, I find myself every day, numerous times.
How about if Wisdom 2.0 was 100,000 people, the world would be a better place.
Exactly, yeah. Or there's a Netflix doc. This is my latest story. Oh, there needs to be a Netflix documentary that talks about all this stuff, which I actually might still do, but it's not, the thing isn't like if there's a Netflix documentary or 100,000 people, there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong or what's not helpful is thinking that changes your internal state of consciousness when that happens. And what I find 10 million times is if I get something I thought I wanted, it's great, but my internal state of consciousness doesn't shift unless it happens internally. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you, Soren. We have 5 minutes left because I have a call with a secret oracle called Greg in 5 minutes, which I write a lot about these days. So we'll have Jackie. Can you ask a short question?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Soren.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, everybody. It's not such a question. I just wanted to comment on what Olivia said and what you've just been discussing, in that I have the same experiences that Olivia has. And also, I think earlier when I believe we're all seekers. We're all seeking the whole time. That's why we're all here, because we've got that curiosity. But just speaking earlier when you mentioned about Eckhart Tolle and discovering, I like to think of us remembering. It's us remembering who we truly are.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
and I think meditation allows us to connect with that part of us, who we are at our true, who the essence of who we are is.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I think one of the things I've appreciated that Eckhart says, which I really resonate with, is that the more that we're aware of unconscious habits, if there's unconsciousness in us, the energy it took to continue that unconsciousness gets transmuted into presence. So basically presence is the more that we're clearing out whatever it is that blocks us, the more presence can kind of show up in our lives. And I feel like that's what we're all doing, right? And some of us are here and some of us are there, and we're all over the place in that journey, but that we're all allowing this awakening that is us, trying to give it more space to be. But it's not a me thing. I think that that's a little bit of the danger, is to think I'm this way, I'm present, I'm this, or I like, versus like just taking out that me and just saying, oh, presence is here, or love is here, or compassion is here. And I just deep bow to all of you for coming, and Magdalena and Loic for inviting me and holding this space, and hope to come back as a participant or whatever I can come back as. And just a deep bow to all of you. And this is really helpful to me and rewarding. And I learned a lot from your presence and your being. So thank you.
We learned more than you learned, Soren. No, thank you so much for taking the time. Also for responding to my WhatsApp.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not always on WhatsApp. So
No. He said, hey, Soren, can you come tomorrow at 9 a.m. your time? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So thank you. That's how we do the...
It's my favorite topic. It's my favorite topic.
I know. Thank you so much, Soren. I'm going to stop the call at exactly 1 hour this time. If you guys don't mind, please continue on Discord. Please join the 90-day challenge, which is a challenge with yourself. There is nothing to win here except being a better person. And I want to thank you all for being here, 24, I think, at one point. And see you every Tuesday at 6. I might pick your brain, Soren, for some guests. I would love to have Jack Kornfeld. You know, like maybe you could be here and hosting it. I don't know. I want to bridge our two communities. You see what I'm trying to do?
Hey, we'll do it.
Because I'm kind of getting really inspired by what you've done, and PAWA was a big success, and I wish you would have been here.
Yeah, I wish so too. And the earth is asking us to come together, I think, in more ways. Nobody on their own can solve what we need to go through, I think, in the coming years. There's just no way, no religious group, no spiritual group, no one group is going to be able to tackle what we're facing. So the more that we can come together, I think that's the answer, if there is an answer.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Soren. I'll call you individually. We need to catch up as well.
Right. Take care.
Thank you, everybody. See you on Discord. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Good to see all your faces. There was a book here I want to copy before it's gone.